The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library.
Just need one more chance to prove my love to you. And if you come back to me, I'll guarantee that I'll never let you go. Ooh, can we go back to the ways? Yeah. Can somebody tell me how to get things back the way they used to be? Sing it. Oh God, give me the reason I'm down on bended knee. Ladies and gentlemen, your host and producer of A Dose of Landis, Mr. Jeff Landis.
Hello, welcome to A Dose of Landis. Your host, me, Jeff Landis. How you guys doing today? See the top hat going on, wearing my great white shirt. But anyways, today my special guest is Kevin Eads. How's it going, man?
You know, I'm not doing too bad. It's good to finally be on the show.
Right.
I remember we've been talking about this for quite a few years, if I remember right.
Yeah, because I remember I first met you with Charles Osborne, Entertain Fort Wayne. By the way, check out his link when he had him on just as well. So you're back here in Fort Wayne. What made you decide to come back here in Fort Wayne?
Sadly, my mom passed away, and most of my family and friends are here, so it just made sense for a little bit to spend a little bit of time up here. But, yeah. Sad things, yeah.
Well, glad to have you back. So, you know, like I said, you've been writing books for how long? And tell me a little bit how you got into that.
I've been published for about 11 years. I've always been a creative type. I loved writing as a kid. I had all these great ideas, and I did nothing published, of course, but I had written. I was very creative. I grew up on a farm up in a villa, Indiana. So when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, you can have a very creative sense. You know, any shadow that goes in the barn, anything at all, it's like, oh, it's a ghost, it's this, it's that, it's Dracula. Heck, I still sleep with a pillow over my head because I was afraid Dracula was going to bite me as a little kid. So I guess I'm still trying to keep Dracula from biting me at this age. I'm old, we'll just leave it there. But yeah, when I was teaching at Brown Mackie College for about 7-8 years, loved it, and one of my students had a publishing company, so we did some stuff together, and then I've worked with other publishers as well, and I've mostly worked in the horror genre, but I'm reaching out, just a recent book I wrote called The Snow and Other Tales, which is basically 1930s, 40s, and 50s style detective stories with kind of a modern sensibility. With a new company I've just started with my friend Michael Linneas called Cat's Paws Press, which we're going to be basically doing old pulp style stories from 30s, 40s, and 50s, sci-fi, kind of weird science type of stuff, horror, sword and sorcery, Tarzan, action, Lone Ranger type of stuff, just all over the place, and detectives and mysteries. So we're just going to try to bring back the old feel of the old pulp novels of the 40s and 50s with modern sensibilities and such.
So how many books have you written since you started?
Somewhere between 40 and 50. I lost count.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the good thing about having smaller publishers is they're willing to put a lot of product out over the years. And yeah, I just kind of lost count. I just kept writing, turning stuff in. Oh, I like this. Okay, good. I'm glad you like it. I think a lot of the things would start out from the disturbed mind of Kevin E. It's like, wow, I went from being a law student to the disturbed mind. But hey, whatever.
So when you write some of the stuff, do you incorporate some of your real life situations that you've been in, or you just come
sometimes
with your mind?
Yeah. I used to be in a ghost hunting group in Fort Wayne, Indiana Ghost Trackers, and we would go to different places. And you definitely get inspired from some of the places you went to and incorporate them into some of your stories. Of course, friends could be incorporated in some characters. Enemies, never make an enemy with a writer. They're going to make you look really, really bad, and things of that nature. So yeah, but yeah. You've got to take a little bit of who you are. I mean, a lot of my main characters, to take little pieces of myself, sometimes what I am, sometimes what I'd like to be, and put it in there as well.
So you say you've done over 40 books. Mm-hmm. Do you have like a certain favorite one, or I mean, obviously being a writer, everything everything you do, you take pride in.
Absolutely, but there are some that, like for instance, I loved Fountain of Blood, and what was the other one? True Legends, both from Dark Moon Press. I totally loved. Wild Werewolf Women of Wyoming from Old Spooky Barn Books, which is another favorite of mine, and we're getting ready to put out one now called The Vampire Estate with Cat's Paws Press, which I think is going to be excellent. But Eerie America, Travel Guide to the Macabre through Schiffer Publishing was really good. I did that with Eric Werner, and a lot of other stuff. Yeah, I mean, you love everything you do, but there are some that just stick out because it's like, this is when I really found my voice as a writer. You know, I would say with Fountain of Blood is when I really started finding my voice. When I started writing out, you know, anybody, their early stuff, they look back, and you have to understand, writers, we're our own worst critics. So you look back and you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And but when you first draw, it's like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. But you know, you just keep growing, and you push the stuff you love the most.
So I consider, you know, this may be different, but again, when I first started doing TV at 14 years old, and I'm still doing it now, and I'm 41. God, I feel old, and that's a long time for doing. There's not that many survivors in the entertainment business that survive that long. Because again, like I said, we are our worst critics, and we got people. I think that politicians and entertainers get the worst critics out of anybody, most hate. You know what I mean?
Politicians deserve it. Authors do not.
Yes,
entertainers do not.
Again, like I said, so, you know, sometimes, you know, when you do this stuff, you know, when people criticize about that, how do you take that? Because again, like I said, some people are like, you try to do it.
You know, it depends. There is what's called constructive criticism, which I used to get a lot of from my mom and from people that are close to me. It's like, okay, you've got a really good idea here, but you didn't express it the right way. For instance, when I was filming the TV show Eerie America, which didn't get picked up, but regardless, we were, you know, filming a show. We did like 2 or 3 different sizzle reels. The first one, people are like, you know what, you're not natural there. So when we did the second and third, I was like, okay, you know what, I listened to what the criticism was, and I changed, and I got really good reviews. Even though the show didn't get picked up, everybody liked what I did. They could see I was being myself and being fun, and the same thing with writing. People would be like, okay, you know, maybe you need to describe things a little bit more. So it's like, okay, let me fix that, you know, or add a little bit more dialogue here or there. I mean, editors are there for a reason. They're there to help you, not to make you feel bad. At least I don't think they're there to make you feel bad. But you know, you just got to listen to there's other criticism that's just mean. Like I remember I was reading a review once. Most of my reviews are pretty positive, but I read one and it was personal. You could tell it was somebody that must have known me and hated me. Maybe, who knows who it was, but maybe a student that didn't get a good grade in their class because they didn't earn it, or somebody else. But you could tell it was a personal slight, and that was not fun, you know, obviously. But a lot of them, it's like, okay, well, listen to what they're saying and make yourself better, because we can always improve. Even the best actors of the world can improve their craft, and we listen and we take the constructive criticism to heart.
That's true. What I do is, you know, if we're hearing after years and years, like, oh, your show sucks, blah, 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 and I'm like, you know what, I'll do a thing. Why don't I challenge you to produce a show? Because I know producing a show is like producing a book. It's like, you know, I got told Daniel, Brendan Brown from Eads, when I interviewed him, I was like, you know, I consider producing a show is like producing a kid, because again, you're producing something out there that everybody's gonna see, and it's like, you know, this is I don't know how many episodes I've done throughout the years of doing TV, but this I consider like a pride of a child, because right. Like, you know, people are watching it, you're seeing it, and you produce it. So that's how that's how I consider. I'm
giving birth to a book there. I mean, it's creepy way to put it, but it's true. In a way, you kind of are. You're giving birth to an idea, and the idea comes out, and it eventually becomes the printed word. Although now everything seems to be going more to Kindle and such, which is tough, because as musicians, people in film, writers, when everything goes to like downloads, you get a lot less money off of that. You know, I don't know how much you get from a download of music for the musicians, but unless you're like a superstar, you're not making much money. Writers, you know, would like to all be rich, but it takes a while to get to that spot. And the same thing in what you're doing in television. You know, everything with the change of media over the years, it makes it a little bit harder to make money if you're the creator. Now, if you're the owner, you'll be making more and more money.
Oh, yeah.
So,
It's crazy because, like you said before, about the whole media thing, and again, I'm still trying to get used to YouTube and stuff like that because I'm so
right.
used to old school doing TV shows. Because again, you said about, I produced a TV show. How do you do that, and what's that?
Well, some of the younger kids don't even watch TV anymore. They watch 5-minute snippets on YouTube or TikTok, and I watch YouTube for music videos, and TikTok, I have no personal interest. I know it's great for the younger kids; they love it. I'm not gonna, be like a grumpy old man complaining about it, but it's not for me, But I'll use the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram sites, things like that we older folks use a little bit more.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier on a post, because I was talking about doing 2 shows. We're going to end up doing 3 shows today. We're doing comedian, and we got somebody that's producing a show on A&E coming on the 3rd show. So we plan on doing 2 shows, but we end up doing 3. Technically 4, because I did another thing for another show doing the top 15 wrestlers. I did a segment for that, so technically it's 3.5.
Well, the Iron Sheik would be on there, or I'm going to have to tell him that you didn't put him on there.
If I interviewed him, I would definitely put him on there. I've met Iron Sheik. I would definitely put him. He'd probably be one of the top guys.
He would have to be. That guy is, if you ever read his Twitter site, it's got to be one of the funniest things out there.
He'd be one of the funniest guys to ever have on a show, for sure. I know.
And one of the best. I mean, if you read his history, he was a real wrestler. He knows more than these other kids today.
That's very true. And one thing I'm trying to also wing out of, everybody knows me as the wrestling guy in Fort Wayne. Oh, that's Jeff. He produces the wrestling shows. I'm trying to lean away from that, but it seems like I'm grabbing you, Jeff. You're going back to the wrestling.
Well, because if you're good at something, it's like me when I'm breaking out into away from horror. I'm known as a horror writer, especially short stories. I've done a couple novels, but I'm known as kind of like I'll take cues from Edgar Allan Poe or such. They did a lot of short stories and less novels, but I'll do novels, and it's like I still gravitate towards a short story. I'll do something outside of horror, but I still gravitate back towards it because it's what I know and what I'm known for. And the same thing for you. You're known for wrestling. You're obviously going to be drawn back. People know you for that. They love you for that. And look at the actors. Even the Jim Carrey. They try to do a serious acting role, but they're going to go back to comedy because that's what people know them and love them for.
Oh yeah.
Even Jamie Lee Curtis, after all these years, she's going back and doing horror with the Halloween movies. So you're always going to find a way back to your origins or what you're good at, what you're loved for.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away, but it's not helping. Come on, but again, it's okay. Again, like I said, I've got to figure out to do something new. Now, I want to talk about something that I know every writer gets, writer's block. How do you handle that? Because I know sometimes you're like, I have this idea, then you're stuck on it and you want to do it, and you're like, nah.
A lot of times what happens is I move on to something else temporarily. So let's say I'm working on a novel, and I have been working on a novel now for years, and I've got this great idea. It is a perfect concept, but eventually it's like, crud, I can't move back to spot. So I go back and write a short story just to keep writing, keep inspired, and then I'll go back to it. I mean, I just had it happen with a recent book. I was working on a novel, more of a novella, for 10 years or so, and I finally got it sent in to an editor and, waiting for the reviews. But it took a long time, and it's one of those things. You have to find another outlet to keep your creativity going on. I'm not just going to hover over the same story. You move on to something else and come back when you can. I'm sure a lot of other musicians, actors, whatever the case may be, when you're trying to come up with something, you have to step away for a little bit and come back when you're ready. I know a lot of writers might use other things like alcohol or others, but it doesn't really work for me.
I understand. Like I said, I would love to be quite honest. I would love to write a book about my story, about my life, and about how the entertainment business is. Because again, like I said, I consider this. We all have our own stories.
Yeah. We
all want to write, and I consider our ages like our chapters. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you should if you get a chance. The thing is, it just takes time. Don't expect to get it done overnight. Sometimes you can, like when I've done some screenplays, and I've sadly the one movie I wrote called it was for Max Searchy. It was what was it called? The House of Evil. It was shot, but it was never finished. The editing and process. They moved on to another project, which it happens. And and maybe they'll come back to it and maybe they won't. But, I was able to write that pretty quickly, and a lot of times people can write a screenplay really quick. It's going to go through major changes. You can write it in a day or two, but you're going to do a second, a third, fourth, fifth draft and on and on. So
That is true. Now, we go through the reality of real life and stuff like that with everything, because again, like I said, some of us have other jobs, and then again, like I said, people don't understand in entertainment, you got to have other jobs as well. How do you manage that? Are you just a full-time writer?
no, I've done a lot in education. I've been in teaching or other educational pursuits for a number of years, because I don't make it just on writing, obviously. But you find something you love. Like I love education. I love teaching others. I love seeing spark when the student, it sparks in their eyes. I get it now. That's a great feeling. And then hearing later that you help them find a job or you help them get on the right direction in life. That's a great feeling. And again, it can be an inspiration. I can be inspired by family, friends, girlfriend, whatever. These people around me inspire me.
Now, speaking of inspiring, we all want to work with somebody. Like we already know, I want to work with Boyz II Men and
Right.
some other people. Who would you like to collaborate with in the writing world that you two could put a story together? Because again, I notice that sometimes people collaborate as well by writing books as well.
I haven't really thought about that, because I really enjoy writing my own stories. But if it came to writing a movie, boy, James Gunn, that guy is just very creative, and but sadly he's just taken over DC Comics, so there's no way he's going to have time to write with someone else. But someone like that would be, because he started out with Trauma Films, then wrote movies like Super and Slither, so he has that sensibility that I do when it comes to movies and film. Taking a horror but adding a little bit of comedy to it, because let's be honest, horror, a lot of horror movies today aren't really scary. A lot of them are funny. Vampires are amusing. Werewolves can be amusing. Ghosts, they can be a little scary. I mean, the only movies that really scared me were like Rosemary's Baby and Mephisto Waltz, the devil or whatever. That's a little scarier for me. But a lot of the other stuff is entertaining, amusing, but not necessarily frightening. That's why a lot of mine, as I say, there's definitely a humor element in a lot of my stories. Sometimes I put a romance element for my female fans. You try to, who your audience is, and you write for your audience.
That's true. You got to listen to your audience. Again, if you don't listen to the audience, and people are like, oh, okay, they don't care. They just don't care about feedback.
You're writing books for yourself. You basically got a collection of books that nobody's ever written, or a show that nobody's seen, or a CD that no one's ever going to listen to, or whatever the case may be.
Now, have you done audiobooks before too, or just straight
Not
up just
yet.
writing?
Not yet. We've talked about it in the past, but haven't really done anything with that sense. It's time. You know how it is. When you're doing other stuff, when you're working, time is of the essence, and you've only got limited time. And one of the other things that I love to do on my free time is travel and do day trips and such. So sometimes I don't put the effort into maybe something like that I need to. But as I say, I just started Cat's Paws Press with my friend Michael, and we're looking at doing other things. One of the things we want to do is put like a old 1930s, 40s style radio show as a podcast with the characters we've created in our books. Do like a show maybe 2 or 3 times a year that would be like an old-timey radio show, which would kind of, push the characters in our books, push our books, but also give a different venue for our stories.
That'd be cool. Again, like I said, nowadays, like you said before, podcasts are what's in with a lot of things. And again, like I said, the internet's taking over the world.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to a lot of the Ron Burgundy podcast is hilarious, and there's a podcast with David Spade and Dana Carvey, which they interview old SNL people, and I grew up on SNL, so things like that are great. But there's others that everyone else listens to that I personally have no interest in. But that's why there's a market for everything.
Oh yeah, that's true. Now speaking of that, can we show everybody about your book and tell a little bit about it? The book?
All right, so this is called The Snow and Other Tales. This is basically old. Oh, hello. 1930s, 40s, and 50s style detective tales put with a modern day sensibility. There's 6 stories, and they're all different detectives. One is a former priest who just couldn't stay in the priesthood after the horrors he saw in the war. He had worked in World War II as a chaplain, and came back and became a private detective. And there's a lady. One of the stories I wrote was a lady from the Fort Wayne area who goes out to Hollywood to become a star. She does poverty row type of films before becoming a private detective and getting involved in this elaborate cover-up in the LA mayor's office. So there's all types of different stories, and I really enjoyed writing them, and I hope you guys will enjoy reading them. So pick up a copy, or not. They're if nothing else, it's cold weather. It's a great. If you don't want to read it, it's great to burn. Just kidding. I don't believe in burning books. I love books. Never burn a book. But yes.
Say, for instance, if I want to get a hold of you and want to get you on your books, how can I get a hold of you?
Well, Facebook is where I spend most of my time. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find me on any of those platforms. You can order books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the other online book sales places, and I'm pretty good about responding to people. I love doing shows, radio shows, TV shows, podcasts, whatever. I'm always open to interview. I'm a little bit more eccentric than some of your regular writers. Some people are going to be very calm. Oh, let's talk about my book today. Jeffrey, I spent 20 years writing it. I'm just, I'm my own person.
Just be yourself. What I tell everybody is, like I said, I've interviewed big names, celebrities. Like I said, I'm not bragging about it or anything, but you just got to be yourself.
Yes, you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, no. But you just got to be, gotta be yourself around people. Because, again, everybody's regular people. And, you just got to treat them like family.
That, but also have fun. I mean, my people that know me know that I'm a little eccentric, a little out there at times, but I think we spend so many of our lives trying to conform to what everybody else wants. So when you're a writer, you can finally let loose and be yourself. Or an artist in general. I mean, when I say writer, I should say artist in general, because there's so many different mediums of art, and you can really be yourself and have a lot of fun with it. Even if the pay is a pittance, you can still have a good time.
Oh, yeah, that's very, very, very true.
And when the pay is great, it's even better.
Oh, yeah. Money speaks.
Yes.
Everybody loves the green. Like I said, I met him through Charles Osborne. He was doing a show called Entertain Fort Wayne. Check out his link on YouTube. Again, that's how I met him, because I was doing audio for him, and then you linked up through Gina Burgess, and then you linked up with Charles. It's like communication is linking up with somebody. Again, like I said, some people have big egos about stuff. Again, like I said, it's all about networking and working together.
And, you've had a name in the city for a long time. You've been doing this forever. I remember watching you on public access years ago.
Are you serious? I didn't see you. Never. Thank you.
Why am I going to say anything like
that? You never told me that.
I've seen you. Yeah, I've seen you over the years. It's like, hey, this guy's willing to put himself out there. You got to respect that. You started out with your singing, then you did your wrestling stuff.
Yep, he's watched.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with it, and I respect that, because it's not easy. You're putting yourself out there. And when you put yourself out there, there's positives. There's going to be people that love you, but there's going to be people that hate you. There's going to be people that give you grief, make fun of you, or whatever. Whenever you put yourself out there, and you know what? You just learn to brush off the negative and definitely bask in the positive. You probably had some female followers for a while, I'm guessing, there when you were doing, especially during your crooning in your early days, trying to be the next Frank Sinatra there or whatever.
Yeah, my singing was horrible, but like I tell everybody, I was like, I wasn't trying to. I mean, my goal was to be a singer, but again, I was like, hey, studio time, free studio time. I love to sing. Obviously, I was singing Boys to Men, All for One, all those kind of things, and that show turned out to be blowing up big.
Yeah.
People made fun of me about it a lot, but I was like, you know what? Because before I said criticism, I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. I can't stand the criticism. But you know what? Doing it for 28 years. Yeah, 28 years this year. Wait, 28. You know what I mean? I've been doing it for forever.
It's been at least a quarter century. How do we put it that way?
Yes.
And that's going to make it sound even longer.
Yes.
Quarter century sounds like you are super old, dude.
Yeah. Been doing it for a long time. I have talk shows, reality shows, all kinds of things. Again, like I said, this show isn't basically about me. It's about my guests. But again, like I said, I didn't realize that you watched me that long.
Yeah. No, I'm very familiar with you. I mean, everyone in Fort Wayne probably is, because you put yourself out there. You got to respect that.
Yeah, again, I tell everybody, hey, I'm just trying to be myself. Again, like I said, I wasn't expecting to be in a Fort Wayne history book. I was not expecting that either. I was like, holy crap, because Mark Souter, rest in peace, I was getting off the bus, going to work, and next thing you know, he's like, by the way, I'm putting you in a footnote in the book. And here I am like, is this real? Is this a dream? I'm not going to lie, I cried. Because again, like I said, my goal wasn't to be in a history book. I mean, I wanted to be in one, but again, I didn't know it was going to happen. So again, like I said, put yourself out there. Not everybody could do TV. Not everybody could do writing. Not everybody could do movies.
Yeah.
just be yourself.
Exactly. And again, with the network thing, I've met a lot of interesting people over the years in film and writing and such. And there's people I'm working with. There's a gentleman I'm working on right now trying to get a couple film projects made. I wouldn't have met him had it not been for, the things I've been doing thus far. I know people that own great haunted locations. For instance, my friend Dan that owns the Randolph County Infirmary down in Winchester, Indiana. Anybody ever looking for a good ghost hunt, go down to the Winchester, what is that called? Randolph County Infirmary. Ask for Dan, tell him I sent you. Dan's a great dude, you'll love him. And the place is very creepy. If you don't have nightmares after spending the night there, you'll never have nightmares.
Uh-oh. Check that out. Before we go, anything you say to the fans that's watching A Dose or your fans out there?
Hi, fans. Hi, friends. It's me, Kevin Eads. Great to see you. No, I'm just thanks for all your support over the years, and continue buying my books. And, if you see me on the street, say hi. Peace. Peace and love, guys.
I used to say that all the time. But by the way, so the thing with me is I've worked with lots of people like, oh, yeah, we want to work together. Because I'll tell a little story about me and him. We've met through Charles Osborne. And then after that, we were talking about him on the show. So it took like over 2 to 3 years for him to come on the show. So
Other than that, yeah, it's probably been about 4 years we've been trying. Yeah.
That's how it normally happens. So again, when I say I want to work with somebody, it's going to happen. It just timing and scheduling.
Yeah, I'm always happy to come back. I'll have more books with me next time. Since I just moved back from Florida, a lot of my stuff is down there, including my wardrobe. So I actually had clothes to wear today, which is great. We don't want to go streaking through your show, Jeff. Sorry.
No. There's been a lot of crazy stuff that's happened on my show.
But no streaking yet.
No streaking.
Okay. We'll have to remember that for the next time.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Which hopefully you'll have me back sometime.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely bring you back. Like I said, my show is always open to anybody and everybody. I don't discriminate on my guests. So if you want to be a guest on the show, let me know. Again, this is the last ever season of A Dose of Landis.
So we're making a 5-year season, right?
Yeah. Gonna. Everybody wants me to do A Dose of Landis, but again, like I said, ever since I did a little tribute to somebody, people want me to do a reboot of it. And what's crazy about that reboot, people back then told me I shouldn't do it. But as soon as I dressed up as him,
you had the look, buddy.
So.
And I was on twice on that show.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a Happy Place reboot after the season. We'll actually take a year off. Attempt to take a year off. But
you won't. You'll be drawn back in. They bring me back.
I mean, he's not lying. He's not. He's not lying. But that's the truth. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to wrap this up like a condom. I'll see you guys later. See you next week. Our special guest is OG Mustafa. He's been on the show before. He's raw. He's real. He doesn't care. See you guys later. Thank you.